Well, I love this quote by A.W. Tozer, who wrote an essay called The Sanctified Imagination. He writes that the imagination is of great value in the service of God may be denied by some persons who have erroneously confused the word imaginative with the word imaginary. The gospel of Jesus Christ has no buck with things imaginary. The most realistic book in the world is the Bible. Love that quote. Imagining what is not real, that's not what I'm doing. I'm actually hoping that discipleship can be the process of imagining what is real but not seen. We can set our mind on things above. And today I had to-do lists before me. And so I've got several different to-do lists. And honestly, it's kind of a preview of my day. I mean, that's what they are. We are looking ahead. We're using our imagination to say, hey, this is what I'm going to accomplish today. Yesterday, I had this experience with my to-do list, and it felt so good writing the things down. And I love little bullet points. And by the end of it, something just didn't feel as good. It felt overwhelming. It felt like there was a lack of peace that was in front of me. And then I started my day that way. And so there's something about the sanctified imagination and our to-do list, and I'm going to bring those together just briefly. One thing I've really desired for looking at previewing the day, these words come out of Colossians 3. Man, when I do my to-do list, I desire peace, wisdom, gratitude, and fullness. And those are key themes from Colossians 3 that I just think are really wonderful when you think about the sanctified imagination and your to-do list. But listen to these other words from Colossians 3. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, since as members of one body you were called to peace, and be thankful. Let the message of Christ dwell among you richly as you teach and admonish one another with all wisdom through psalms, hymns, and songs from the Spirit, singing to God with gratitude in your hearts. I mean, what if we approached having gratitude before you write your to-do list versus after? And then the final verse is the one I just want to harp on, verse 17. And whatever you do, whether in word or deed, do it all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him. And I just think, man, that's it. Do it all in the name. And that is an interesting phrase right there, because what it means is interact with God's presence as you work. Know that you are one with him and you're actually cooperating with him. And one theologian said, prayer is simply talking to God about what you are doing together. So I love that, and that's such a shift. And that leads me to kind of my final thought from a dear friend, Alan Fadling, in his book, Unhurried Leader. And he talks about this very thing of walking with God as we walk into the rooms of work. And so this simple practice is very helpful. And what the practice is go ahead and write down your to-do list for the day. Then take a step back and ask yourself, how do you feel about the list? And then after that, write the two little words next to each line item, with God or with Jesus. So make a Facebook Live video, with God. Take out the trash cans, with God. And do that for every single one. Then take a step back, and how does that change your perspective? Because what we're talking about is working with God, walking with him, and imagining him with us. And that is the realest thing we can even think of. So work the list with God. Cooperate. And I think what begins to happen is we become a certain kind of person when we have this perspective. And maybe even our to-do list is shifting to a to-be list. That becoming, I think, is the heart of God for us, to become a certain kind of person who can walk and work and do justice and do ministry and do household things with peace, wisdom, gratitude, and fullness. I really experienced this, and I came across this in a journal. I was working at Grace Community Church, and I had talked with my mentor, Steve Lynham, that I was just getting carried away by my to-do list. And he said, John, just slip away and place your to-do list in the presence of God. And I remember him saying that. And so I'm walking down the hallway in Grace Community. It's on the second floor. And there's a door that opens up, and that door goes into the balcony of the sanctuary. And I just remember, I just had this moment where I had my to-do list, and I walked into the symbolic presence of God and sat. And I noticed that he saw everything on my to-do list, that he knew about it, and he wanted to work with me and cooperate with me and live out this union with me. And it was just the coolest thing. I just kind of came back out of there and went straight into a meeting, and it just changed your perspective. May we preview our day with God. And I think that is excellent use of our sanctified imagination.